All right, what's up, lovely people? We got some choreography to talk about. So you have 4 different ways that you can program the same or similar choreography into your ride that will allow you to be able to keep it fresh, keep it fun, without having to be super complex. The first one is going to be, stacking. I almost forgot. First one is going to be stacking. And that is simply you switching or going back and forth in between different combinations or different pieces of choreographic movement. So that way you're able to fill up a full interval, maybe a full beat drop, or just a full frame of time that matches or makes sense with your music. For example, you may do 8 counts of tricep dips, and then go into 8 counts of push-ups, and then 8 counts of sways, and then 8 counts of travel bags. So you're just stacking different choreography moves in order to encompass one full interval of choreography without necessarily having to put a whole combination together. Number 2 is going to be switching, and that is you switching back and forth or just switching the counts or the tempos of the the choreography moves that you do. So when it comes to switching the tempos, you may be doing, let's say, a push-up or a press. And let's say you're doing single counts on the beat of the music, and then you say 2 counts or even 4 counts. So now they're going to go 2 count hold, 2 count lift, 2 count hold, 2 count lift, or maybe even 4 counts, and then bring it back up. Sometimes you can even add in pulses. So it's a 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you lift up and you have pulses. So you're just switching the count or the tempo that you are riding to, or as you're doing the choreography. If you're doing the counts, let's say you're doing 1 push-up, 1 elbow drop. Let's say you're going singles onto the beat of the music, and you say, let's double it. So now you're doing 2 presses, 2 elbow drops, and then going that way. Maybe you even go up to 4 or go up to 8. You're switching up the counting that everybody, or the count everybody is going to be moving on before they switch between movements. Number 3, that is going to be building. This is where you get into full complex 8 counts of choreography. So you may do something like drop, tap, drop, press, sway, sway, something like that. That probably wouldn't be the smoothest choreography because I just threw it out there, but you get what I'm saying. You're putting together all of several movements in order to let it land right on perfectly on the 8 count. So that way your room can have something edgy, can have something fun, and it adds a completely different dynamic to what you're doing. Now, you can do it one of 2 ways. The first way is you can do each of those movements separately, just so they can get comfortable with them individually. You can see that they can do it on the beat. It's not way out of their wheelhouse. And then you build that up into doing it all together. So maybe the first couple times the chorus comes around, or first couple times you have a beat drop, you're doing those individual movements. And then on that very last super epic, maybe even this longer kind of beat drop or rhythm change, then you say, all right, we're going to put it together. You show what it looks like, put it all together, and then they run with it. The second way you can do it is just at the very beginning of the song, or at the first time that you're about to do this interval, cue them 8 to 16 seconds early and say, hey, we're going to do this, that, and show it a couple times, do it a couple times, and then, all right, 3, 2, 1, go. And then go right into it. So it really just depends on your room. If you have a room full of advanced people and they know exactly what they're doing, they know your cues, they know your flow, they know what you mean, you can just go right into that 8 count and buck it up, right? If you have new people in your room, or if you are newer to the studio as an instructor and so they don't really know what your cueing is like, they're not as comfortable with you yet, build into it. It will be totally fine. The fourth one is going to be layering. So that's you having a layer of choreo, then a layer of intervals. Choreo, intervals, or vice versa. Interval, choreo, interval, choreo. And you're going back and forth between those 2. For example, it may be you doing 8 seconds of elbow drops, and then you're going to go into a heavy gear change, and then take it off. Now you're back to elbow drops. Maybe you're doing travel backs for 16 counts, or however many reps feel good with the music. I'm throwing out these counts and like 8 count, 16 count. I'm throwing out the numbers, but it should feel good to you. If it feels good to you, it's going to feel good to the room. So make it make sense to what the rhythm and the mood and the feel of the song is like, and then switch accordingly. But let's say you're doing those travel backs and then you move into an isolation, and then you go back to the treble backs and then another isolation. Or let's say if you're in the saddle and you are doing jumps, you're somewhere in the 90s, low hundreds, you're doing jumps out of the saddle, and then for however many counts you want to do that, how many reps you want to do that for, and then you leave everybody in the saddle and you say, keep your speed at that 105 RPM, crank up your gear, and just ride the rhythm. And then however long you want to do that for, tell them to bring that gear back down, just holding, still maintaining the beat. Now we're right back to the jumps. And you're just going back and forth between that. So you're combining the intervals of speed, gear, or putting them together, gear and speed, and then layering it with some type of choreography move. Again, make it make sense with your music, make it make sense with your timing, and make it make sense with your room. I cannot stress this enough. Choreography is only as epic as you coaching it and you coaching it with the right music. If you are trying to do some crazy cool stuff and the music is not vibing with the room, it's not going to be as epic. If you are trying to do some crazy cool stuff and your room cannot do it, your room is being unsuccessful, they are going to look a mess in the mirror and they are going to feel defeated. And you're going to look out into your room and you're going to feel defeated. Like, dang, I really wanted this moment to be super magical and to be super exciting. And it's not, because they're struggling. So you always want to have a backup plan, especially if your choreography is going to be intense in length because you're going for a really long time, or intense because you have, there's a mental component to it because you have so much going on. You got right, center, left, you got sways, you got a lot going on. And those are the 4 ways that you will program your choreography into your ride. And with any technique that you use out of those 4, building, stacking, layering, and switching, I think was the 4th one, you want to have patterning. And that is if you do it once, you do it twice. In any song that you program, if you're doing choreography, you should be doing it at minimum twice. So they have at least 2 opportunities to crush it. And the first time, they're getting their bearings, they're getting comfortable with it. The second time, they can probably really fuck it up. And that's what we want. And if you have it a 3rd or 4th time, then now they're really, really into it. They really got it. And it's about that 3rd or 4th time when you start seeing fireworks. Because everybody's got it. Even the newer people, the less advanced people, even some people who are more advanced or more seasoned, but they're just not on their A game. Everybody has it now, and everybody can crush it on the rhythm. So at least have them do it that second time. Now there are going to be pieces or components in the songs that you play where it is just a rhythm change like no other moment in the song. It is on its own. It's completely different. And you feel it. Your room will feel it. Your riders will feel it, that they just want to do something different. And that is totally okay. It may be just one moment where everything just kind of sinks down. The music is low. The vibe is totally changed. And you may want to do an isolation in that moment. And that may be the only time that you do it, because that's the only time that the song called for that. Or you may want to do something else. Maybe the song is pretty chill for the most part. It's still, upbeat, but the mood is kind of low. It's a vibey kind of song. And then all of a sudden it picks up. Even for a moment, your body is going to want to do something different. And so you give it that. And that's totally okay if you don't pattern that, because it's not going to make sense with the music anymore if you do it again, because that particular moment doesn't come again. So try to always have a pattern. If you do it once, do it twice. Try not to just throw something completely random into the mix at the very end of the song, because it's just going to be like, what? Unless you are building on top of something you already did. So if you were already doing some type of combination, and then you're like, you know what, I really want to challenge you guys, and then you throw something else in there on top of the combination, that's going to be super dope, because I imagine most songs at the very end of it, something changes, and it's usually a big change, and so you want to change with it, and that's, I mean, and amazing. So that's choreography.